Picture this. It's the middle of the night and you hear it. That weird, phantom trickling noise echoing from the bathroom. Or maybe you've just pushed the handle down, and instead of a powerful flush, you get this weak, pathetic swirl. We've all been there, and let's be honest, it is incredibly frustrating. Look, most guys look at that porcelain box, hear a broken flush, and instantly reach for their phone to call a professional. But today, we are stripping away the mystery. Welcome to This Explainer, where we're going to treat this basic appliance exactly like what it is, a machine. We're getting hands-on, looking under the hood, and breaking down the simple, no-nonsense mechanics of your toilet. $150. Literally, that is the absolute baseline minimum amount a plumber's gonna charge you just to pull his truck into your driveway and walk through your front door for a basic house call. That's before parts, that's before hourly labor even kicks in. That is a painful hit to the wallet for an issue that, as you're about to see, absolutely does not require a pro. I mean, just look at the comparison here. The $150 professional house call versus a $3 piece of rubber you can grab at any local hardware store. When you put them side by side, the cost of paying someone else to fix this is downright absurd. The reality is the fix is unbelievably cheap, and it's completely within your capabilities. You don't need a heavy-duty tool belt or a plumbing apprenticeship to handle this. You just need to know how the machine actually operates. Here is our shop manual for today's explainer. 1. The costly plumbing illusion. 2. Anatomy of a toilet. 3. Problem 1. Endless running. 4. Problem 2. Won't refill. 5. Problem 3. Weak flush. And finally, 6. Master your simple machine.
Okay, let's dive right into section 2, Anatomy of a Toilet, the machine revealed.
To fix any machine, you first got to understand what it's actually built to do. So forget the shiny porcelain exterior. Inside that tank, that big square reservoir sitting against the wall, is pure machinery. And this machine has exactly 2 jobs. Just 2. It needs to get rid of the dirty water, and it needs to refill with clean water. Job number 1 is the flush cycle. It is brutally simple. You press the flush button or pull the handle. Inside the tank, a little chain pulls up a rubber seal located right at the bottom. We call this the flap or the flapper. The second that flap lifts, gravity just takes the wheel. All the clean water stored up in that tank rushes down into the bowl below. The sheer force and volume of that water pushes the waste right out through the drain and straight into the sewer system. Boom! Job 1 is complete. Job number 2 is the refill cycle. So now the tank is completely empty, right? And the flap has dropped back down to seal the hole. As that water level dropped during the flush, a mechanism called a float, which is literally just a floating ball or cup attached to an arm, dropped right along with it. When that float drops, it physically cracks open a valve that's connected directly to your home's water supply. Clean water starts pouring back into the tank. As the water level rises, the float rises with it. Once the water hits that perfect predetermined level, the rising float arm physically forces the valve shut. The water stops, the tank is full, it is armed and ready for the next flush. No electricity, no sensors, pure mechanical engineering. Just let that sink in for a second. This system is so brilliant and so straightforward that it fundamentally hasn't changed in over 100 years. You are looking at levers, gravity, water pressure, and buoyancy. That's the whole shebang. And because it's purely mechanical, the failures are strictly mechanical, which means, guys, we can absolutely fix them ourselves. All right, let's troubleshoot. Problem 1, endless running. You flush the toilet, you walk away, and an hour later, you still hear it. That non-stop trickling sound. Water is just continuously escaping into the bowl, literally running up your water bill every single minute of the day. The culprit here is almost always a worn-out or misaligned flap. Remember that rubber seal at the bottom of the tank? Well, over time, rubber degrades. It warps, it gets hard, or it just shifts slightly out of alignment. When it stops sealing properly, water constantly leaks past it into the bowl, even if you haven't touched the handle. Because the water level keeps dropping just a tiny bit, the float keeps opening the refill valve just a tiny bit. Hence, that endless running sound. The fix for this is incredibly straightforward. 0 wrenches required. First, just take the heavy porcelain lid off the tank and set it somewhere safe. Look down at the bottom and find that rubber flap. Reach on in, and hey, the water inside the tank is perfectly clean tap water, so don't sweat getting your hands wet. Just unclip the flap from the pegs holding it, take that old warped piece of rubber to your local hardware store, walk into the plumbing aisle and buy an identical one for like $2 or $3. Bring it home, clip the new flap right in and hook the chain back up. You are done. You seriously just saved yourself a massive plumber bill with about 10 minutes of work. Moving on, problem 2, won't refill. This is the scenario where you flush, the bowl empties perfectly, but then dead silence. The tank stays completely bone dry. You go to flush it an hour later, and absolutely nothing happens because there's no water stored up to drop into the bowl. The cause here is almost comically simple. It's a stuck float. Remember, the float dropping is what signals the valve to open up and let water in. If the float gets stuck up in the high position, it tricks the entire machine into thinking the tank is already full. So the valve stays locked closed and zero water comes in.
All right, time to throw on the DIY dad hat. Pop the lid off and take a look at the float mechanism. Check if the float arm is moving freely. 9 times out of 10, it's just wedged against the side of the tank, or maybe a little seized up from hard water deposits. Reach your hand in there and give it a firm, manual push down. Usually it frees itself instantly and you'll immediately hear the glorious sound of high-pressure water rushing back into the tank. Now, if you push it down and notice the float itself is damaged, cracked, or waterlogged and sinking instead of floating, you just need to replace it. Again, pop it off, head to the hardware store, drop $5 to $10, and snap a new one on. Easy money.
Next up on the list, problem 3, weak flush. You hit the lever, the water starts to go down, but then it just gives up halfway through. It doesn't fully clear the bowl, and you're left standing there having to wait for it to refill so you can flush it a second time. The cause here is a premature flap drop. The flap is basically slamming back down over the drain hole before the tank has had time to fully dump its payload into the bowl. And this brilliantly illustrates the simple physics of tension and weight at play inside that tank. There are 2 main reasons for this. 1, the rubber flap has become coated with a heavy limescale buildup over the years, making it physically heavier than it should be, so gravity just yanks it down too fast. Or 2, the metal chain connecting your flush handle to the flap is too long. When you push the handle down, it doesn't pull the flap up high enough, so it just falls right back shut. The fix here is a quick 2-step diagnostic. First, if the flap looks crusty and heavy, take it off and soak it in some standard white kitchen vinegar. That dissolves the limescale buildup. Clean it off so it's nice and light and pliable again. But if it's clean and still dropping early, look at the chain. Shorten that chain by moving the clip down 1 or 2 links. You want to increase the tension so that when you push the handle, that flap gets pulled almost completely vertical. It needs to stay floating open long enough for the entire tank of water to drain out. Just tweak the chain until you get that full, powerful flush back. And finally, Section 6, master your simple machine. Look, you've looked under the hood and diagnosed the 3 major failures of this daily appliance. It's time to take pride in the fact that you can master this simple machine. Once you understand the basic underlying mechanics of water in, water out, a buoyant float, a rubber flap, and a metal chain, you own it. It loses all its mystery. Let's review the final scorecard here. Problem 1, endless running. The part is the flopper, and the cost is $2 to $3. Problem 2, won't refill. The part is the float mechanism, costing under $10. Problem 3, weak flush. The fix is literally adjusting the chain or using household vinegar, meaning it's completely free to maybe $10 max. Every single one of these fixes takes less than 15 minutes of your time.
So I'm leaving you with this final thought. Stop paying plumbers for things you can easily fix yourself. You have the knowledge, you know the mechanics, and you know exactly how cheap the parts are. Next time that toilet acts up, don't reach for your phone. Reach for the tank lid. And honestly, it makes you wonder, what other mysterious, expensive household machines are actually just simple 100-year-old mechanics just waiting for you to master them? Keep fixing, keep learning, and I'll catch you on the next explainer.